Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of New Breakpoint. My name's Simon Waite, and this week I am not on mute. So welcome to the show. If you want to join in today's show, we've got a great discussion, open discussion. We'd love to hear from you. You can hop onto our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you should find that there's a chat box on the right-hand side next to the video, or the left-hand side next to the video. Feel free to put comments in there and we'll be able to bring them into the discussion. If you're watching the show later, please feel free to tweet us at Microsoft AU Dev, or reach out to any of today's guests who you'll also find on Twitter as well if you check out our show log. We will be doing more polls and quizzes going forward, and we have a show coming up next week at Ignite that will be great for you to watch, because there'll be an opportunity to win some great prizes off the back of that on the show the week after Ignite. If you are contributing as part of the discussion, make sure you review our code of conduct to ensure that you are contributing in a positive and appropriate fashion with everyone that we have on board. So I just mentioned Microsoft Ignite. We have a show at Microsoft Ignite next week. It's at a slightly different time to our usual show. It's 3:30 p.m. On the 3rd of March. The short link to get directly to the session is there on screen, but you have to register to attend the event to be able to watch it on the day. So if you follow that link and you're already registered, you can add it to your schedule builder. If you're not registered yet, you'll be able to do so and then add it to your schedule builder. All right, today we're going to get straight into it, because this is a great and interesting discussion that I want to bring on a few people to join in with. So we've got Sammy, Melissa, Somy, David and Ross, who are members of a very wide-ranging set of communities here in Australia from many different locations around Australia. And we're going to have a discussion today about how has the last year changed communities. You know, what are some of the challenges communities have faced with everything going virtual? What are some positives and negatives out of this experience? So without further ado, I'm going to bring on everybody to join the stream, and then we're going to have a discussion. So let's add Somy. We'll bring in, hey Somy, we're going to add in Sammy, we'll add Melissa, and then David and Ross. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing this morning?
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, good morning. All right, let me
Doing
just
well.
take away my slides here. Awesome. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourself. So I'm going to throw to Melissa to say a quick hello and let everyone know who she is and who she or what community she's a member of. Over to you, Melissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Houghton, and I'm a lead consultant and a developer based over in Melbourne. And I'm the vice president for D2D Melbourne, which is a community-run big tech conference over here. And I'm also an organizer for the melb.net user group as well.
And I can see you've got a cat there who's very keen. In fact, two cats who are very keen to get out and chase the birds by the looks of it.
Yeah, hopefully they don't start fighting.
So you can choose who does the next introduction.
Over to you, Sammy.
Oh, thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone. I'm Sammy. I'm involved with the Women in Tech community. I'm an organizer for Brisbane's largest coding workshop for women, which is Muses Code JS. And now I'm going to throw over to you, David.
Thanks, Sammy. Hi, I'm David. I'm a senior developer at 6pivot. I also help run the Adelaide.net user group, and I'm a co-organiser along with Andrew Best of the DDD Adelaide conference. I'm going to hand to Ross.
Thanks, David. I'm Ross. I'm a digital accessibility specialist, helping organisations be more digitally accessible by following international accessibility standards, including Web Content Accessibility Guidelines version 2.1, and I'll be representing the digital accessibility community. And I'll throw it over to, last but not least, Somy.
Thanks, Ross. Good morning, everyone. My name is Somy. I am a lead consultant, and I'm part of two communities, APAC AI Community User Group, as well as AI Podcast, which I'll explain a little bit more later on. Back to you, Simon.
Thanks a lot. Fantastic group of people we have here. As I said, please, if you've got any questions you want to throw to us, use the chat on YouTube. We'll put the guys' details up at the end for Twitter access, so you'll be able to follow everybody on Twitter. I'm going to open up the floor. So we heard from Melissa and David are both involved with community events DDD. So for those of you who are in Melbourne or Victoria, in fact in Australia, as we all are, you probably will have seen DDD Melbourne. So it's a huge community-run event. And like all events, it certainly saw some challenges last year. So Melissa, what I wanted to do was hear a little bit from you about, how did DDD Melbourne work through DDD Melbourne last year? Did it happen? If it didn't, what were some of the changes or pivots that maybe you took as part of the organising group to help keep that DDD Melbourne community running?
Yeah, so DDD Melbourne, we last ran the full main event in 2019, and we had around 750 people. So it's pretty big and all community based, and we try to get new speakers in and all of that. So when the pandemic happened, we weren't able to run an event that size. So we had to adjust how we did it. So we actually moved to more sort of meetup style, user group style, what we call the by night events. So we had those running once a quarter previously, but now we started running them a whole lot more and running them online. And we didn't run the big event and focus more on those sort of smaller events instead. But it also meant that we could get speakers from other states and all over the world, which was really cool.
Yeah, it has had, I think, some positive changes, like you'd said. Being able to have that sort of broader pool of people to draw into the community, to present to the community. But I think there's a common theme that I see appearing in some of these larger online large-scale events. And I know Ross, you talked about that accessibility community, and I think you're in our discussions previously, you've talked about the benefits of online to access to content and e-learning, but then also some of the challenges with that. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Working from home last year was a massive enabler for people with disabilities, because you're no longer having to travel outside, go over difficult transport routes, navigate the world around you, and you're just doing it online. But what we were finding more and more, those digital platforms for e-learning and also video conferencing hadn't been built with accessibility in mind. So whilst they may have been usable for people who have no disabilities, if you have vision loss or vision impairment or motor difficulties, all of those mean that you're at a much more significant disadvantage. So, for example, video conferencing, Microsoft and Google provide live captioning as standard, but Zoom you're providing it as a paid option. E-learning services build to accessibility guidelines as best as they can, but there's no testing with users with a disability. So as a result, they may pass disability and accessibility to guidelines, but in a practical sense, they can't really be used. And there's a disconnect still between the intent of making something accessible and following through and actually providing that. And that's what we've been noticing more and more. So working from home has just highlighted it much more than what it usually has.
Yeah, it does highlight some of those challenges, right? The in-person events, often we take for granted the space that we have, and we don't have to funnel everything through this one channel like we do with online content. And I think while everyone has the best intent, sometimes some of those capabilities don't always get implemented, or if they're implemented, they're maybe not functional at the sort of scale that we maybe see with larger online events today. And I think you've talked about accessibility and actually getting to pre-built content, but I think there's also a question around accessibility to having the tools to create that content, which I know has been a challenge for a lot of communities, right? It's one thing to want to have the desire to run a virtual event. It's another thing to have the technology or even just a reliable internet connection to give you the ability to create that content. So I think there's both a consumption accessibility challenge and a production accessibility challenge in many cases for communities. I wanted to bring Somy in at this point because I know that one of the bits of feedback is people are tired of looking at a screen, watching videos. They'd like other mechanisms to access and consume content. And I know that the AI community you're a part of, Somy's done some interesting stuff in that space. Did you want to tell everyone about the stuff that you've been doing in that space?
Sure. As you mentioned, with the whole pandemic, lots of doors has been closed, so we lost that human interaction. We were stuck at home. We have to work from home, so we were losing that human interaction and we were losing the touch with the community. But in other sense, people started doing other communities and trying to go virtual. And a few months back, we were thinking people sit in front of their desk for the whole day, many hours during the day. So we don't want them to have another hour sitting and joining it online. So we were thinking to have another maybe session for them, which can be a podcast, which can be an audio podcast for them. When they go out for a walk or when they go out, they still can listen. So they still can have that connection, but they don't need to sit in front of their desk. So we started doing a series of AI podcasts. It is a video podcast, but it will be converted to audio podcast. And we will be talking to our community representative. We will talk to the communities and we will bring it back to the communities. So we'll have that real life experiences that everybody within the community had during the past year. So we try to share those experiences. It will be personal experiences that they had, the challenges that they had during this pandemic. And we talk about those challenges, especially the fields that they are working and they're part of. And we will see that we are in the same boat. Everybody's in the same boat, and we can see if I have a problem, other people have the same problem. And this is how they overcome those challenges. So it could work for me as well. There are lots of things that community has worked on since pandemic. To Ross' point and Melissa's points, yes, there are lots of challenges. I guess pandemic bring lots of problems on the service as well. But that was, in a way, it was a positive thing because now we have a problem that we need to solve. And I guess the community and the technology are working toward that goal to solve and overcome those challenges as well.
And I know that even in Australia, people have had very different experiences over the last year. If you look at the way that different locations in Australia have been affected in different ways, I think that's an interesting angle to take as well. And I know, Sammy, when you look at the Muses Code JS community, for example, in your part of Australia, there was very much a desire for that back to in-person style event. But even there, there's been some challenges and some learnings and some insights there. So I wanted to bring you in and hear from you about that experience there.
Yeah, from the Muses Code JS perspective, our workshops are full day workshops, coding. So people sit closely together and they're touching each other's keyboards. So from a health and safety perspective, we weren't prepared to put that at risk. We last year had an event planned in the second week of March, which was gearing up to be quite large. And then we kind of saw that the pandemic hadn't been declared a pandemic yet, but Muses Code JS is an Australian-wide organisation, but the Brisbane chapter was the first chapter to pull and to say, hey, we don't think this is safe. And that at the time was a little bit of a tough call to make because nobody else was pulling their events. But we felt, that could have escalated. And by the end of that week, the pandemic was declared and it was the right call to make. Are we ready yet to bring back the events? Not quite. But there is definitely the feeling and sentiment for it. But because we host 100+ people and the proximity, it's not quite there. But I would like to see maybe smaller events that don't take up a whole day, more like a meetup in Brisbane. We're a little bit more safer right now compared to maybe other cities with their with their second waves or small outbreaks. So I'm thinking potentially in Brisbane we'll start seeing smaller communities get together. And only just yesterday, my company, Six Pivot, and another company are looking to put together a small event for International Women's Day, which might be the first like physical community event in Brisbane. So I'm looking forward to being part of planning that and seeing if it can go ahead. Yeah, no, it's a good point. And online workshops for a full day don't really have the same experience, particularly when you're doing that collaborative shared coding, group coding exercises. It's very difficult to recreate that. Even with features like the Teams breakout rooms capabilities, it doesn't really create the same experience as sitting in a room with people. I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of just people in general, but communities more broadly as well. David, I will get to you in two moments, but we do actually have a question coming in on YouTube. So Arafat, who's one of our great community contributors, was wanting to ask Ross, as user group organisers, how do you think are the best ways that we can ensure that accessibility standards are met? So I guess we're talking here more in the online streaming world, but even maybe more broadly in future in-person event style. Do you have any thoughts or feedback for Arafat on that, Ross?
Really good question. I guess it's just acknowledging that digital accessibility is a very complicated area. So just having a technical fix alone might not address it, and it's just being open with individuals who might need that support and having a feedback mechanisms. One of the easiest is asking users if you're having difficulties in any way, reach out and attempting to accommodate those. And so eventually that'll be part of your regular process. Some users might then reach out, and from those insights you can start to understand what you need to do to make it easier for those users and also other users.
Yeah, I think normalization is a big part of it, right? I think making people comfortable to raise issues and know that they'll be listened to can't always be solved in the sort of the community space, because sometimes the challenges in solving them can exceed the community's capabilities to do that. But I think at least if there's an awareness of it, an acknowledgement of it, and hopefully longer term an attempt to address that, I think as long as you normalise the idea that it's okay to give that feedback and that people in the community can give that feedback, that's an important starting point. It doesn't obviously solve the challenge, but it allows people to have that space that they can raise those issues. And I think accessibility is certainly one aspect to that. I think appropriate community collaboration and contribution is also a very big part of it as well. And I think accessibility fits inside of that. Being accepting of all people and supporting of all people in the community is super important. All right, so we've got, I can see we're sort of running a little bit long, but I did want to give David an opportunity to contribute, given he's been sitting there patiently for the last 15 minutes, waiting to open up on what's been going on in Adelaide. So I know you're involved with the .NET community in Adelaide, and you've been involved with the DDD community event as well, David. So I did want to hear from you, how the last year's gone, some ways that maybe you've helped keep the community connected, and what has it meant for DDD Adelaide?
Yeah, so we sort of rebooted DDD Adelaide in 2019, and that was a real big success, and so we're really looking forward to coming back bigger and better in 2020. But of course that didn't happen, so we had to hit pause on that. I guess we're hopeful that maybe we might be able to do something this year. It's hard to know. But on the user group front, we went online, so we started meeting virtually, and I guess there was some interesting things to that. One was that we were able to bring in more overseas speakers, so we had a lot more lunchtime meetings where we normally would meet in the evening, and so we were able to source some speakers from the US where the time zone difference was a bit better. We're also able to get in touch with people that had moved interstate or overseas. So we had some old Adelaide folks from Melbourne and even in the US that were joining in our group and the meetups that are online. So that was really exciting to see. So now we've met back in person once already this year, and we've got another meetup in a couple of weeks' time. And so now the challenge is sort of how do we sort of merge those two, that we can be back meeting in person with the current restrictions allowing that, but trying to maintain that virtual presence as well. So that's kind of interesting, sort of technical and social kind of thing to work through, I suppose. But yeah.
And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that. I think it all means maybe some changes to the way people view, say, a remote presenter at a physical meetup, because over the last year, every presenter's been remote, and we've all been remote. I think having the mindset change of it might be okay to gather as a group safely, but not necessarily have the presenter physically present in the room, presents a lot of possibilities. Now, there's obviously a lot of technical, logistical challenges around that, which kind of falls into the same general bucket as, well, how do you create an accessible community? And sometimes it's not easy to solve, particularly if you're a community run on a shoestring. Some of the bigger community events like DDD, have that backing of sponsors to help deal with some of the logistical challenges around costs and technology to solve some of those challenges. But it's when it filters down to community groups, to user groups, sometimes it's not that simple to solve. But I think everyone is starting to be aware of that, probably much more than they were before we went remote, which I think is fantastic, because it does open up a lot more possibilities. And I certainly see through the 5 of you and other communities that I work with, there's this recognition that this idea of local community, of physical, is really hyper important. It's like the thing that we all appreciate as humans is seeing and meeting other people in person. However, our communities are now much broader than that. I've attended events in Europe, I've attended events in the US, I've had people from the US present at events in Australia, from Europe present in Australia. So now the idea of what actually constitutes a local community looks very different potentially to what it did a year, 18 months ago. Look, we could talk for a long period of time about this. Today was just a taster. I did want to thank you all for joining in today's show. And I really appreciate the time that you've given us here today and the work that you do for the communities that you're a part of. I think it's fantastic, and having folks like yourself involved is the reason why communities happen. They don't just happen on their own. They require someone to intentionally focus on that community and going to help that community. So big thank you from me to all of you. If you wanted to just give a quick wave to everybody out there in viewerland before we wrap up today's show, I'm going to say a goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much. Melissa, I hope your cats are okay. I think I saw someone post that they thought your cats were having a bit of argy-bargy in the background there.
Yeah, they've been running around.
Yeah, there's no dogs barking. So the general rule is if there's a dog barking, you have to see the dog. But maybe the next time we do the community show, we'll have some dogs barking in the background. Look, thanks a lot, everybody, for joining in today. I'll tell you what, hang around on the stream. Let's wrap the show up like this. Everyone stay on screen for a few more seconds, and we'll wrap today's show in a few seconds. So we've had a great discussion today with everybody here about what has changed in their communities over the last year, some insights and some challenges going forward. I did want to say, make sure you don't miss out on that Ignite show. You'll be able to find it earlier in the stream, or also in our show debug log. If you go up onto, follow that link on the screen, you'll get details of today's show, how to reach out to our guests via Twitter at that page as well. With that, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in today's show. My name is Simon Waite, and what I wanted to say was we'll see you at Ignite next week. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks after that with Damien Brady from our cloud advocacy team. That should be a good show. So thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye now.